Welcome to the Explainer. If learning a new language sometimes feels like just a completely chaotic puzzle of arbitrary rules, well, you are definitely not alone. Today, we're demystifying foundational French grammar. We're going to show you the incredibly straightforward, highly logical mechanics that are actually running behind the scenes. Okay, take a look at this sentence. Tu parles toujours allemand avec ta fille, which translates to, do you always speak German with your daughter? Now, this is a full, fluent, conversational sentence. And to a beginner, seeing a string of words like this might seem pretty intimidating at first glance. But here is the real secret. It's actually built on a handful of very simple, highly repeatable rules. Once you understand the basic blueprint, you can build practically anything. And this brilliantly illustrates where we're pulling our mechanics from today. This is a standard language learning app's Unit 9 guidebook. It is absolutely packed with key conversational phrases and essential grammar tips. We aren't going to look at any complicated academic theories today. We are just decoding the exact information presented right here in this source document to uncover how French actually works in practice. So, here's our roadmap for today. We're going to cover 1. Essential French phrases, 2. Mastering OAR verbs, 3. The rule of elision, and 4. Correct adverb placement. Let's jump right into Section 1, Essential French Phrases for Real Conversations. What's really interesting here is how common greetings and questions form the absolute foundation of your French interactions. Take salut, comment tu t'appelles? Meaning, hi, what's your name? Or tu habites à Londres ou à Madrid? Asking, do you live in London or in Madrid? And of course, the response, j'habite Paris, meaning I live in Paris. Notice how immediately useful these are? They aren't abstract concepts at all. They're the exact phrases you're going to use the moment you step off a plane or meet a native speaker. But rather than just memorizing them like a parrot, we really need to understand the gears turning inside them. Moving on to Section 2, Mastering verbs and the mechanical process behind them. Now, if you've ever stressed over verb conjugation, you are absolutely going to love this. The guidebook shows a remarkably simple two-step formula for present tense verbs that end in OR. Step 1, you literally just drop the OR from the end of the infinitive word. And step 2, you attach the right ending based on who is doing the action. It really is that mechanical. Honestly, it's like a linguistic assembly line. Let's look at the verb parler, which means to speak. Notice how that ER completely disappears from parler, leaving us with the base, or stem, which is just PARL. Then for the subject je, which means I, we just add an E, creating parle. For the subject tu, meaning you, we add an ES, creating parles. Now here is a vital thing to keep in mind regarding pronunciation and a super common beginner mistake. Even though tu parles has an S on the end, that S is completely silent. Je parle and tu parles actually sound virtually identical when spoken out loud. So let's see this application in action. Look at je travaille à Paris, meaning I work in Paris. The verb is travailler, and we've perfectly matched the subject je with the ending E to make travail. Then we have tu parles anglais, meaning do you speak English, matching tu with the S ending on parle. Once you recognize this specific pattern, you can literally apply it to hundreds of other French OR verbs effortlessly. All right, Section 3, the rule of elision, or as I like to think of it, smoothing things out. Elision happens when the word je, meaning I, comes immediately before a verb that starts with a vowel. It shortens to J apostrophe. You're literally just slicing off the E. But why do we use elision? Well, if you try to say j'adore Paris, you naturally have to pause between the two vowel sounds, the I in je and the A in adore. It feels clunky, right? It creates this weird vocal roadblock. But by applying elision and dropping the E, that phrase transforms into a flowing, natural, single-breath sound, j'adore Paris. It completely bridges the gap between the words. They just roll right off the tongue. And this rule is incredibly widespread. We see it in j'adore, right before the A in adore. We see it in j'ai une copine, I have a girlfriend, where je merges perfectly with A. And look at this third example, j'habite à Paris, I live in Paris. Now, even though habite starts with an H, in French, that H is completely silent, which means the word effectively starts with a vowel sound. Therefore, elision applies here too. It's an amazingly consistent rule that instantly makes you sound way more native. And finally, Section 4, correct adverb placement and flipping the sentence structure. Think about this structural flip for a second. In English, adverbs can kind of float around a bit. We say, I speak French well, putting the adverb at the very end. Sometimes, with other adverbs, we put them right before the verb, like I always speak. But the French rule, laid out in our guidebook, dictates that short adverbs like bien, which means well, comes strictly after the conjugated verb, not before it, and not at the very end of the sentence. It has to directly follow the action. Let's apply this to build our conversational fluency. In the phrase je parle bien français, notice the exact order. Subject, je, verb, parle, adverb, bien, object, français. If you try to translate literally from English and say something like je bien parle, you are immediately going to be understood as a beginner making a grammatical error. Remember, the verb must come first. We've covered some truly fantastic ground today, breaking down this guidebook into actionable, logical pieces. We learned the OR verb assembly line, the smooth sounds of elision, and the strict placement of French adverbs. Before we wrap up, I want to leave you with a quick challenge to test your new knowledge and spark your curiosity. How would you construct a sentence applying the OR rule, elision, and adverb placement all at the exact same time? Think about how these mechanics overlap to create complex, beautiful language. Thank you so much for joining me on The Explainer today, and keep decoding those rules.